you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years,
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy, and we are going to look back on some hockey last night, but also tee up the game tonight, specifically Game 5, NHL, the Bruins at the Florida Panthers. I said NHL there, Pierre. You know why? Because I'm just typing before we got on here, and you always have to hashtag and everything on Twitter, so you do NHL Bruins and all. Now I'm speaking in hashtags. What has happened? But that's the way it goes in the social media world, I guess. Anyhow, we're going to tee up Bruins Panthers with Andy Brickley of Nesson will be joining us shortly here on the Eye Test. But Pierre, quickly before he does, let's look back at last night. And I got to give a lot of props to the Carolina Hurricanes, and specifically a man that I know you're very fond of, Pierre, Jordan Staal, who had an amazing game. He gets that huge goal. And what a beauty goal it was, too. I mean, he's known for his tenacity, his grit, his kind of sandpaper style, right? But that was finesse, Pierre. That was a beautiful goal.
He hasn't had a great series, but he's been percolating over the last two. And I thought last night, obviously, tremendous. And huge energy from him. Obviously sets up a massive Game 6. The skill level of the tying goal that Jordan Staal scored was phenomenal. You know, the gritty guys, Martinook scores, Staal scores, Drury gets an assist. Those gritty guys matter in a series like this. The Rangers looked out of sorts last night. They did not look normal. Yeah. They've been the more physical team, Jimmy, I think, in this series so far, but last night they were not. It's almost like they ran out of gas. It's almost like they were tired. And it's a hard thing. You know, Jimmy, they swept Washington. They were up 3-0, obviously, on Carolina. That's 7 straight wins without a loss. Think about it. If you did that in the regular season, in a 10-game segment, you won 7 and lost 3, you'd be a pretty good team.
Yeah.
You'd be a pretty good team.
It just, you know, it shows. And look, we saw this in the first round when the Bruins were up 3-1 on the Maple Leafs, right? I mean, the fourth game is the hardest to win. It really is. And you have to you said it best yesterday, Pierre. You have to go in with that killer instinct. You can't just think, okay, these guys got their back against the wall, desperation, blah, 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 and sort of say, we'll just take their best punch, and then they'll get tired, and we'll come at them, and we'll beat them in the end. You got to go right from the opening face-off. You gotta have that sense of desperation like the team facing elimination does.
Yeah, there's no question. Urgency matters a lot. Leadership in the room matters a lot. Making sure guys start on time matters a lot. I thought the shorthanded goal by Trouba last night would really create some positive energy for the Rangers. You could see the fans were getting into it. The team was getting into it. And then the resolve of Carolina. This is where veteran leadership matters. So Staal takes over the game. Brendan Moore's calm on the bench. He's not running around like a maniac. Jeff Daniels is calm. Tim Gleason's calm, the coaching staff there. They don't panic on the back end. And Freddie Anderson, I thought, was really calm. He kept it on the rails, especially after giving up the shorthanded goal. So there was a lot to like for Carolina last night. Jimmy, and I can't wait to hear, what we're going to get from our guests. But I would say this. Andy Brickley knows if you force a Game 6 and you're going home, there's a real good chance you're going to force a Game 7. You're not just winning that Game 5 on the road to go home and lose in front of your fans. Yeah. So there's a real good chance there's going to be a Game 7,
and especially in a building like RNC, Pierre, or PNC, whatever it's called. Like that arena, like we discussed it many times here, is one of the loudest in the NHL, and it's going to be rocking for Game 6. So I'm with you. I don't see that series ending in Carolina, in Raleigh. I think it's going to end one way or the other, whether it's for Carolina or whether it's for the Rangers at MSG in a Game 7.
So, Jimmy, I'd be prepared for this. I'm remiss. I spent a lot of time at the rink and in the weight room today. So all I'm asking is, can you tell me what the weather's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina tomorrow? Because I need to judge the level of lubrication the fan base will have before they go into the rink.
Well, I think here, if I'm not mistaken, let me see. I want to say Game 6 won't be until Friday. I think they got that 2-day break.
No, I think it's Thursday.
It is Thursday. You're right. You're right, Pierre.
Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Yep, you're right. You know, they did they're doing a 2-day break in the Bruins Panthers if that advances to a game 6. So let's check that weather tomorrow in Raleigh. Yeah, I mean, by the way, Pierre, have you ever seen when you're walking through the parking lot with their tailgates, they have pig roast going?
Oh, I've seen it. That's why I'm asking. The level of lubrication will matter for the fan base. I can tell you.
Hope they make it to the third period, right?
Oh, they're professional. They'll make it to the third period.
They know to mix in the water. So what do we got tomorrow? It's going to be 78 and sunny.
Okay, so here's what I'll tell you right now. The Rangers are going to bring their A++ game because Carolina's going to be a little bit elevated. I can tell you right now, those fans will be amazing. It's a really hard place to go. You know, I've broadcast Stanley Cup finals there twice in 2002 and 2006. You know, Carolina wins in 2006. They lose in 2002. But I can tell you, it all started kind of then because they first started when they moved from Hartford. They were playing in Greensboro. Yeah. And Jimmy, it was just no good. It was a basketball building. It was just no good.
They were living out of a suitcase. And the people of Greensboro knew that too. You know, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to adopt it.
It wasn't their fault. No, it wasn't their fault. But once they got a home in Raleigh, those people in Cary and Raleigh and that whole area, they just bought it. Yeah. They just bought in. And, you know, everybody knows you got North Carolina basketball, you got Duke basketball, you got, you know, Wake Forest, you got North Carolina State. Like, you got a lot of other teams, even though they're college. Some of them are actually pro. You know what I mean? Yep. And so, you know, that's a hard market to get into, but they did a really good job getting into that market. Jimmy Rutherford and Peter Laviolette, those guys did a really good job.
Forget Paul Maurice back in the day. Yeah, Paul Maurice was there too, Pierre, remember?
Yeah, Paul did a good job. In 2002 went to the final. I mean, so no, you're right on.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Aaron Ward about that 2002 final because he had been with the Red Wings, and then they played the Red Wings there. But yeah, it's a great place. It's underrated. As I've said many times, if you ever get a chance, go down there for a game. If your team's playing there, you'll enjoy it. Just maybe don't cheer that much for your team because they'll let you have it. But it's a fun place. And like I said, too, it's kind of got the college vibe. Like you said, they have all those colleges around there. So you kind of get that vibe like you're at a college basketball game almost.
Well, the tailgating helps a lot. Tailgating helps a big chunk
here. Yeah. Really I'll tell you, Pierre, I remember going there. I want to say it was 2009. Right when the Bruins won 7 games, I think that was Scott Walker, Aaron Ward, that series. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, and
so I remember being at a game. I don't know. I forget what game it was, but it was my first time covering a game there. I've been there as a fan, but it was my first time covering a game, and I'm just walking I was staying at that hotel that's right off the parking lot there, so it was great. You know, you just walk through the parking lot. And I'm walking. I leave. I don't know. I probably left my hotel room for a 7:00 game. I'm like you. I want to get there early. So probably around 2:45, 3:00. And the parking lot's packed already. And I start talking to these guys that had Bruins jerseys on. They recognized me because I was with Nesson at the time. So they'd seen me on TV. And we start talking. And then they bring me over. They say, oh, come over. We want me to meet our friends down here. They're Hurricanes fans. They're great. And, man, they got a hell of a pig roast going. So we go over there and they got the pig roast going. They've got 3 kegs lined up. They've got an ice luge. And I'm like, guys, I got to go to work. I'd love to stay with you, but I got to go to work. So it was cool. It was really fun. And I kept in touch with these people. Actually, one of them actually still watches. He's watching our podcast today. So,
hey, can you get Brick on? Because I want to ask him about that luge. He probably knows all about the luge.
Well, we got him in the green room. They're working on his audio and video right now. He's going to be joining us. So, Pierre, before he does, let's look at the other game. Now, first off, Pierre, some really hard news. I mean, man, talk about when it rains, it pours for the Colorado Avalanche. In the 3 hours leading into the game last night, into Game 4 of their series, they're down 2-1, heading into Game 4 at home. You know, and you think, okay, we're on home ice. We can tie this up. We can come back in this series. And all of a sudden, news starts to trickle down that Val Nichushkin is going back into the NHL players, assistance program that he had been in pretty much almost the same time. I think it was the first round, right? Because they didn't get out of the first round. They lost to Seattle. But We all know the incident that happened with him in Seattle last year, and he had to leave the team. And now they find out they're going to be without their leading goal scorer, who's actually tied, Pierre, heading into action last night. He was tied for the league lead in goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs with 9 goals. So a huge loss there. And then they find out they're missing Devin Taves. And it's like, what next? I mean, how do you – and obviously it had an effect on them. I don't care what they said. I mean, I know they lost 5-1, and it's not an excuse. But, Pierre, how can that not have a mental effect on a team going into a playoff?
It did. All you had to do is watch the game. It definitely had an effect. I feel – you never want to have any kind of problem like that in a playoff series, especially when you're playing against an elite team like Dallas, and Colorado knows that. Dallas is dictating the terms. After game 1, Dallas has been dictating the terms of this series. There's no question about it. They're probably the most difficult team to play against right now in the league. The board's got them playing a 1-3-1 in the neutral zone. The acquisition of Chris Tanev, we talked about it, and you just see how well he's played. And you look at, obviously, the forwards up front, whether it's Wyatt Johnston or Jason Robertson. It doesn't matter. Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're playing great hockey, and Ottinger's been what we thought Ottinger would be when the playoffs started. So I can't see Colorado coming back in the series. And you know what? Maybe Dallas really is the better team. Maybe he is.
We'll see what happens there. All right. I think we've got Mr. Brickley now joining us here on the eye test. I don't know if he's in Florida or he's at home. What's going on, Brick?
I wish I was in Florida, but when the national networks take over, we'll relegate it to just one round. So we have coverage down there in Florida. I believe Sophia Yurkstovich is down there. She'll give us some reporting from morning skate, etc. Post game, we'll get some sound from her. But no, I'm relegated to studio. We'll do an hour pregame, hour postgame, everything out of the Nesson studio over in Watertown, and we will actually do some intermissions where it's just conversation. Obviously not allowed to show highlights, but we will do it for various digital platforms that Nesson is associated with. So still working, Murph.
Good stuff. Well, your friend Pierre McGuire, I know you guys did some games back in the day. He's here with you.
I'm happy to see he's not at a golf course.
It was a perfect day to play, but it's all about the hockey today. Pierre and I have had some great in-depth conversations about the game over the years, as have we, Murph.
Yep.
Might even socialize. I have fond memories of hanging out together in Montreal in the good old days when that rivalry was strong. But no, good to be with you guys. Obviously, I'm not much of a podcast guy. I got to be honest, but my family, my wife, my 2 daughters, they are urging me to be a little bit more proactive, in things that interest me and getting a little bit more involved in podcasts because they find them very entertaining.
Hey, Jimmy, I got to tell you one thing. Andy's not going to toot his own horn, so I'm going to do it for him. No, it's really important. Back when we had the nuclear winter in hockey, Andy was part of the Shanahan Summit to help change the rules for the game. He was. Wow. And you know what? People don't know that, and people do need to know that there were a lot of people that were involved in that, and it really did help redefine how the NHL was going to go forward. And Andy, you were a big part of that. I know you were, from your relationship with Shanahan in New Jersey.
Yeah, we were good buddies and obviously teammates in Jersey, and we stayed good buddies even though I came to Boston, and I was honored and surprised to some degree, Pierre, that that he reached out to me. But I know he wanted all walks of life hockey, guys that were, hey, I was the last pick in the entire draft, so it wasn't an easy road for me to the NHL. I was a bit of a guy that had to earn everything he got. I played a whole bunch of different roles as a player. The versatility helped me have some longevity in my career. I was asked to do a whole bunch of different things. And then I was in the broadcast business for, it's been almost 25 years now, but at the time, less than that. So, it was great. We had front office people, we had referees, we had star players, we had these, and, everybody that mattered, everybody that had an educated opinion, everybody that wanted to see the growth of the game and the improvement of the game. So, I appreciate you mentioned that, Pierre, because that was one of my favorite experiences in my professional hockey life.
Good stuff. Andy, let's get into this series now. Obviously, the Bruins facing elimination, Game 5 tonight in Florida. First off, I wrote a column today because I don't know if you saw the report by Emily Kaplan, who said she spoke to some people within the Department of Player Safety and around the league, who said that they just considered what happened to Brad Marchand to be a hockey play, quote unquote. And it's just, look, do I think at this point, after what happened, it had been 48 hours since it happened, when the second angle of the punch, that showed the punch came out, I don't think he should have been suspended after that long or fined after that long. But I at least think there needs to be a recognition by the league or the Department of Player Safety, like, this isn't right and we're not going to tolerate it. And there was nothing. And for them to call it a hockey play, I quite frankly think is irresponsible. I don't know if you got me. I think we lost his audio, guys. You there, Andy? Yeah, they'll fix that.
I'll keep talking.
Oh, here he is. Go ahead, Andy. We got you.
Yeah, the sound. Yeah, I missed a lot of what you said. I know you were talking about the hit by Bennett on Marchand, correct?
Yeah, and basically the league is terminated as a hockey play on that punch.
Yeah, I disagree. I agreed more with the Bruin point of view. The history, I thought it was very similar to what he did to Matthew Nyes last year. That's part of the way he wants to hit, and I think it needs to be addressed. Obviously, bad results for Brad. I know live by the sword, die by the sword. I get that with all the things that Brad's been involved in, but I thought it should have been. I agree with more transparency from the league. I know Donnie Sweeney addressed that before they headed to Florida for Game 5. I agree with that. I would like to hear from the officials. I would like to hear from the supervisor. I think that makes more sense. I don't want to get an email. I appreciate the email, but I want a deeper explanation, a more thorough explanation. There's so much gray area in the game of hockey that you're going to have arguments about what is and what isn't and what should be. And I can see where people would have a different opinion. I could appreciate Paul Maurice's point of view. And I felt the same way about the challenge the other night on the tying goal. I thought it was, certainly a shove on Coyle into the goaltender. Didn't have a chance to react. Didn't have a chance to slide the pad over, maybe make a save on Bennett. But these are the things you're going to have. But I would appreciate from the Department of Player Safety and from the league a much, much more detailed explanation as to, the way that they saw how that play evolved.
You know what I'd like a better appreciation of? How come they didn't have that picture or that tape?
Yeah.
It was really,
Pierre,
I was shocked.
I actually had a long conversation with Darren Pang last night. He was between the benches. It happened right in front of him, and he said it was chaos, that you couldn't see it. And then, even though it appears, if you're watching the game from the broadcast side, Murph, where you sit, where I was sitting the other night, the hit looks like it's a shoulder on the back of the shoulder of Brad Marchand from Sim. It looked like a good hockey hard hit, bad result for the Bruin player. But then you get, that reverse angle, which is what you're looking for in real time if you can get it, right away, or in between periods even, whatever it might be, to see if there is anything more than just, a solid body contact with the bad result. And I couldn't understand why we get that so much later. And Darren, he echoed the same sentiments that he wished he had the angle. But even from his angle right there, right in front of him, it looked more like, shoulder on shoulder, and didn't really see the right hand with the stick in it, obviously, because he's holding the stick, to the jaw of, to the head of Brad Marchand. So, and then I know the Bruin bench didn't see it because there was no reaction from the players, no reaction from the coaching staff. And I certainly had no reaction other than, wow, that was a big hit. That's Sam Bennett. That's the way he plays. He impacted the series last year, and he's doing it again already.
Yep, Pierre predicted that. I'm with you guys. I mean, I agree with everything you just said. The only thing it's just like, okay, now we all know, we all saw it, and Pierre and I discussed this yesterday. You're never going to look bad when you admit you're wrong, you missed something. There's nothing wrong with that. It almost, hey, if you do that, we move on, right? It kind of ends the topic. It ends the conversation, and they just won't do it. And it's going to, until the Bruins are eliminated, and probably for a few days after, that's going to be a topic of conversation across the league. But let's move on. I think we all can say and we all agree that is not the reason that they're losing in this series, Andy. The Florida Panthers are just such a well-rounded team, skill, physicality, goaltending, what have you, coaching. When you looked at this matchup on paper, what were you thinking about the series before it started?
Mental toughness is where they have the biggest advantage over Boston. That's the way I look at it. I watched it last year firsthand, and for those guys that are part of this team that were there a year ago and let a 3-1 lead get away from them, you need to want to be on the ice with the puck, making a play in the biggest moments. And I don't know if the Bruins have enough of that in their DNA with enough players. And I don't know if it's the case with Florida. I just know they have more of it. That's my take when it comes to trying to analyze something that's not an X's and O's. I think they play faster. They move the puck faster. There's less hesitation in their game, talking about the Panthers. I think it's very definitive with their lineup. I think everybody's slotted where they're supposed to be, with Bennett being back in the lineup now. I think they have a defense that is better layered than they get credit for in their own zone. I think they protect the middle of the ice better than Boston does in their own zone. And I'm not getting enough from everybody as far as the Bruins are concerned. I want more from their star players. I criticized David Pastrnak in that third period the other night, Murph. I hated the Barkov goal, the game winner, because, McAvoy makes a decision. Lindholm can't make a clean play, and then he goes kind of right through Pastrnak and Jake DeBrusk and scores the game-winning goal. And that's bothersome to me. It shouldn't happen. If you're going to be a $10, $11 million player, I need you to play, the entire game. I need you to play every aspect of the game. I love your 100-plus points. I love your 50 goals, or however many you're going to score, 60 last year. Entertain me. It's phenomenal. So I was unhappy with that. But then they get the late power play in the third period. Still very much hanging in the balance. That's where I want a player like Pastrnak to take ownership of that man advantage. And I got just the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Pierre?
Well, I'm going to ask you, because you were an elite penalty killer when you played. You and Dave Reed were really good for the Bruins back in the day. I used to draw.
Yeah, Dave was great. He was
trying to draw some game plans up to frustrate you two guys. But anyways, that's another story for another day. Why is the Bruins power play so bad, Andy?
Yeah, Pierre, I go back to the hesitation in their game. They're not reacting. They're trying to read the play. They get out of position. So much of their good penalty killing is body position, stick position, getting the clears, being aggressive at the right time, keeping their structure when it's supposed to, have the willingness to block shots. They certainly got the goaltender that's the penalty killer. No doubt about that. He's been awesome all playoffs. But I just think there's that hesitation in the way they think the game. And you know how that is, Pierre. If there's hesitation, you can't play fast. You don't have to be the faster team. But if you think the game fast and react, and make the right plays, the high percentage plays, you're going to play fast, and you're going to be better penalty killers, and you're going to have a better power play. I see it in their power play too, that they don't create 2-on-1s. They don't understand the value of the triangle, and they don't value the puck as much as they should. If I'm going to be critical because they're down 3-1, and how can you not be, because Florida has really been, even in game one, they've been the better team. I like their performance in game 4. They had a chance to win the hockey game. They go up 2-0. They have 3 or 4, maybe 5 quality scoring chances to extend it to 3. Maybe that changes the tune of that game. And maybe this series is 2-2 going back to Florida. But it's that hesitation, and I don't know if it's fear. I mean, you'd have to ask the players themselves, but they're too good. I don't think Florida is a way better team than Boston. I was impressed with Boston this year, what they were able to do with the roster that they had. But if you hesitate, or if you overthink, or if you're not sure of yourself and ultra confident come playoff time, the more skilled or the better team, or the team that's mentally tough, they're going to beat you in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I want to ask you, Brick, what's been your take on Charlie McAvoy? Because Pierre and I are huge fans of him. We think he's one of the better defensemen in the league. We love his game usually, but I haven't seen the Charlie McAvoy game that I know in the playoffs overall. He's maybe had 1 or 2 games where he looks like himself, but other than that, he seems lost out there. What's been your take with him, Brick?
Well, I agree with all of that. You wanted that torch to be passed, right, from Orta Park, all the way down the line, Chara. It just you just wanted him to be the next guy, right?
Yep.
And he's not there yet. He has the potential to be there. He's got a great physical capacity to handle big minutes. He's a powerful guy. He's got all the skills or tools that you want to be an elite defenseman in this league. There's two things missing. His maturity level, he's not there yet. I know he's one of the leaders of the team, and you want it to be his team, hopefully in the future, as one of those, great leaders and captains in this storied franchise. But he needs to mature. He needs to understand his value to the team, and his value in the team is to play with more intelligence, play smarter, understand angles, how to conserve energy by playing the right way and make an effective play, how to value the puck. Don't take yourself out of position going for a big hit. Don't think it's all on your shoulders that, you have to do everything. Just play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Mike Milbury was talking the other day, and he made a pretty good point about the Bruins coaching staff. Somebody needs to teach more defense. And I know their coaching staff are excellent coaches. They're good people. I enjoy having a strong relationship with all of them. I love my conversations. I like when they educate me on exactly what it is that they're trying to get done and the way that they want to play the game and how they coach. But, I'd like to see somebody that has a pedigree that played the same position as Charlie McAvoy and maybe work with him a little bit to get him to understand, the entire 200 by 85 and better positioning and how to make sure that you're on the right side and what gives you the best options, how to get to middle ice so you get more options, how to be a better power play guy, all that stuff. I think he's capable, but we're not there yet.
At the end of the year, Andy, you're repeating most of what I've been saying about this. But anyways, you're spot on. And I agree with what Mike Milbury said as well. And that's not a knock on Falco, and that's not a knock on Kelly, and that's not a knock on Montgomery. It's just a reality. There's no defensemen on the staff. That being said, I would give Charlie McAvoy a nice going away present when this season's over, whenever it might be over. And that is a 3-minute tape of Chris Chelios and say, this is who you're going to play like. You're going to copy everything he does. And the only difference between the two of you, you're bigger and stronger than Chelios is. So imagine how you're going to take games over. And that's what I would show them.
That'd be simple. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Chelly had a pretty mean streak in him. That made him a little bigger and a little stronger in my book. But, yeah. You educate me. You coached in this league. You've had tremendous success in this league. Is that a common practice where you would take video of someone not from your organization, not from your team, not from your era even, and show a player that this is how you play the game? Is that more common than I would think it would be? Because I love the concept.
It's happening more and more because these kids are not audio learners; they're visual learners. And a lot of times coaches now are saying to players, who do you think you need to play like? And somebody may say, I want to play like Dave Reed because I don't want to be a 200-foot player that's not going to get a lot of points, but he's just going to be an elite checker. Okay, he's a Stanley Cup champion. Here's what he did. I want to play like Eric Hudros because I'm 6'6", 220 pounds. Okay. So I think Andy's becoming more relevant now because these kids visualize better, they don't listen as well. They look better and they see better than what maybe we did.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. Another guy too, McAvoy has actually told me, Brick, that he wanted to be – I remember him saying this when he came in the league, and I've kind of revisited with him on the topic a little. He told me when I first interviewed him, I want to be like Drew Doughty. That's who he grew up watching. That's who he wanted to emulate. And at times we've kind of revisited that, and I said, well, do you think you're getting there? Do you think you're reaching – the points in Doughty's game that you want to be incorporated in your game? And he's quite honest. He said, no, I'm not even close yet. So I think he knows. I think that you brought up the word maturity. I think he knows that he's still not there yet, and he needs to mature into these aspects of the game that he needs to polish to be the complete guy he wants. But, unfortunately, I don't think that's happening tonight, or maybe if there's a game 6 overnight. It's going to take time. But I'll tell you, Brick, staying with the defense, one guy that I think has really
the audio
up.
right
I think
now,
we're
but,
losing.
Just one.
I know where he is right now, Pierre.
I want him. Yeah, I want him out there in every situation. I just want him to accelerate that maturation process and be more of a difference maker. And I want it to start tonight. And I appreciate his self-evaluation and his honesty and his desire to be that player. I got to tell you guys, these guys that come out of college, that come out early, that play in Boston and then play for the Bruins. I mean, I came to the Bruins after I'd been in the league for 7 years. I had a certain maturity level at that point. I felt I was relatively mature as a young man anyway, because I hung around with the older players, whether it's high school or college, and you learn from those guys. But I had played 7 years. Coming to Boston, that was not a hard transition for me. It wasn't hard to play in my hometown. But these kids that come right out of college and so much is put on their shoulders and expected of them, I think that it can go one of 3 ways, right? It can accelerate that maturation. It can slow it down and make it problematic, or it can just take its normal course, where that has affected, if at all, a guy like Charlie McAvoy.
Yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
Jimmy, now that Andy brought that up, I want him to tell us some of his favorite stories from Lively Snively in Durham, New Hampshire, and playing for the great legend Charlie Holt.
I have no audio right now. I can't hear you guys.
Oh.
I apologize.
No, don't apologize. Andy played for a legendary coach at University of New Hampshire, Charlie Holt. He really did.
Sounds like somebody's picking a banjo.
The joys of podcasting.
But no, he made the effort to come on, which is awesome.
Yeah, God bless him.
Right now, but he played for a legendary coach at New Hampshire and Charlie Holt, and in an unbelievable building, Snively Arena. And I remember coaching games there right near the end of Coach Holt's career, and they called it Lively Snively, and it was loud, it was intense, and the crowd was right on you. It was really good. It was a fun place to be. And he was an amazing player there.
We might have him back. We have him back. I don't know. Can you hear us, Brick?
I can see you guys.
All
I
right.
can hear you again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brick, I
apologize. I'm in my car. I'm on my phone.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to let you know we were raving about your time at University of New Hampshire playing for Charlie Holt, a legend in the business, and obviously at Lively Snively Arena. Tell the people at home what the place was like. It was wild as a visiting coach going there.
Yeah, it was such a fun place to play. The ice was spectacular. Even I felt fast on that ice. Give you an idea how nice it was to play there. The puck was always flat. You never had to worry about anything else going on in that building except hockey. It was an interactive sport because they had glass through the neutral zone and most of the the offensive and defensive zone, but the end zones were all chain link. So you had some interactions with some fans. Certainly the visiting team did. It held about 4,000, so they were right on top of you. And it was a little bit bigger ice surface. It was a little bigger, I think, than 200 by 85. And to play for Charlie was something special. I mean, I thought he was a genius. Some people thought he might have been a little bit like a doddering old man, but the conversations I had with him and the systems, remember Detroit and the left wing lock? Well, God, we were doing that when I was at UNH in the 70s, so I thought Charlie was willing to try anything. We were always a good second half team because, you'd play BU, the first time, and then you'd play them in the second half, and we were always a better team. We figured more things out. Our innovative systems were finally understood and executed well. And it was so much fun, and I had great teammates, and we had such a great connection with my hometown of Melrose. that's where Charlie was from. Dickie Umili came in there after Charlie, after Bobby Cullen had passed away. So there's another Melrose connection. You all know Timmy Burke was an All-American up there, another Melrose guy. And then we had, Stratford, Ontario was another connection. That was another pipeline to our program. And I played with some great players. Of course, Jay Miller was my teammate, same class. He was a scholarship guy. I didn't get any money. What was going on with that? But no, it was a great experience, and I got a real good break being a walk-on because the year before they won the East, right? It wasn't Hockey East yet, so it was still the ECAC. They had won it. They had gone to the Nationals, and then they graduated about 10 guys. So there was opportunity for a guy like me, and I certainly had to earn it, and I didn't start playing regular games till mid-December. Thank goodness for my father, who told me to have that stick-to-itiveness, and cream will rise to the top eventually. Just make sure you're ready when you get your opportunity. So I caught some breaks, but the breaks were met with preparation and a great deal of confidence, and it was an awesome experience. I met my wife at UNH. I only went 3 years. I wasn't going to learn any more, all the studying I was doing, so I left after 3 years.
Good stuff. Brick was Jack Edwards went there too, right?
Yeah, we just missed each other. He graduated a year before. I was coming in. He was going out. His first job, I believe, was for a TV station in Concord. And a couple of years later, he came to UNH to do a feature on me. But the idea was the disappearing two-sport star athlete. I was getting really specialized. So he came during the baseball season. And we had a nice long interview in between games of a doubleheader, and it was the first time I ever met him, first time I ever talked to him. And it's ironic that, well, actually in 1990 when I got my myositis in my leg, and it was wrapped right around my femoral artery, and it was squeezing me to death. So it wasn't just a hockey injury; it was life-threatening, and we had to go and remove that. And that was pretty intricate surgery, and so I was down for the count. And my wife said, well, what are you going to do? You're not invincible. What are you going to do when you're done? Call one of your friends in the media and see if you want to shadow them for a day to see what they do. And at that time, Jack Edwards was Channel 7 in Boston, obviously covering the Bruins, but he was the weekend anchor over at 7. And it was a Saturday in April, and I hadn't played since, I don't know when it was, probably February. And I called Jack and I said, hey, do you mind if I shadow you on a Saturday? And I did. I watched him work. I watched him handle all the interns, and at that time of year, right, everything's going on. The Masters, Major League Baseball has started. You got playoffs in hockey and hockey and basketball. So there was a lot going on, and he was a real taskmaster with these interns to make sure that they were doing their work and doing it properly, as you can imagine. Yeah. And then, he writes all his own material, though he never would use a teleprompter. But he prepared, and he was intense, like we all know he is even to this day. Mm-hmm. And that was my second interaction with him. And then the irony of all these years later, we start working together in whatever it was, 2005, I guess it was when we teamed up on NESN Broadcast. So great man. I'm glad he went out the way he went out. Mm-hmm. It was difficult. It was challenging. He was playing hurt the last couple of years, hoping for a good result in terms of his medical issues. I have such admiration for him, and I know he's a polarizing figure. And in that job, Pierre, you know it too well, right? They either hate us or they love us sometimes. And Jack was phenomenal. I love working with people that love what they do, and man, did he have passion for what he did.
You know what I love about him, Brick, and I was lucky enough when I had my stint at NESN too. He always took time for everybody. He would like no matter what, and he wasn't. Some people you meet in this business, they'll be like, hey, and then that's it. You never hear from them again. And he followed up me. I remember when I was young, I was coming into the business, and he would always check on me, and I always appreciated that about Jack.
Yeah, I saw it firsthand. People would come to him, or if he got an audience with somebody somehow, some way, and they're an aspiring play-by-play person, and maybe they're a senior in high school or they're early in college, and they're asking for advice, and not how to get in the business, but how to be good at it. Right. And he always took the time, as you said, and he gave sage advice to these guys, and mostly it was don't say no to anything. Right? Do you kill penalties, Pierre? Yeah, I kill penalties. It's one of those kind of situations. Don't turn down any opportunity to call any sport. Go to practices and call practices. Get your reps in, practice, and it was simple advice, but on the money. And I think he's helped a lot of people. And you could send him a reel, and he'll take a look at it and give you an honest critique. Nothing vanilla about Jack Edwards. He's either going to tell you, it's great or it's not, and he'll be very direct on why it's not. And I think people appreciate that honesty from a guy that's done it at the highest level for as long as he has.
Yeah,
Agreed.
good stuff. Well, Brick, we'll let you go, my friend. Good luck in the pregame and postgame tonight. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll get you on down the line sometime. All right.
Sandy.
All right. Well, let me ask. Good to see you, talk to you, Pierre. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Murph, will I see you at the Garden on Friday?
I hope so. I'm gonna say no comment on that because I don't want to seem like a negative person, but
Okay.
we'll see. You never know.
All right.
You never know.
All
If
right.
not, you'll see me at the wrap maybe. So either way, we might see each other Friday.
Well, that's good with me.
All right.
And again, sorry about my lack of technical savvy. And
No worries at all. And Brick, I think the next time we all hang together, we should do it at Donahue's in Watertown. How's that sound?
I wouldn't say no to that.
Okay, sounds good. We'll figure it out.
Well, I can walk there. So good.
All right. Have a good one, Brick. That's Andy Brickley of Nesson joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's one of the good ones, Pierre.
He is. He was a really good player, too. I don't think people realize how smart a player he was. He had really good hands. He didn't skate great, but he was a really smart, intelligent player. He's become a really good broadcaster. I really admire the way he calls games. He's not afraid to lay it on the line. He does not get editorialized, at least as far as I can see, by anybody with the Bruins or anybody at Nesson. And that's a big part of having a successful regional broadcast. It really is. If all you're going to do is just be a shill for the home team, it's not going to work out real well.
No.
People will eventually catch up to you. And one of the things I admire about Andy, besides his playing and the type of person he is, he takes the time to know what the other team's doing too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a lot of times local announcers will only know the home team, and the home team or the visiting team is just a byproduct. Doesn't matter. They're the Washington Generals. They don't matter. Well, they do matter. I was writing a report for a friend of mine that works in the league today. And at the end of the report, I just wrote, the interesting thing about the NHL, both teams get paid. They're both professional. And so you may be mad at that other team or you may not like that other team, but it doesn't matter. They're both professional, and you got to respect that part of it. And I think Andy does a great job with that, with the Bruins. I really do.
I'm going to say this now, but we'll park it. We'll get to it maybe another time here because I want to get to our great listeners and viewers in the comments section for their questions. But one thing I'd love for you to discuss, I'm glad you brought that up, that he researches the other teams, Pierre, is maybe give our listeners and viewers sometime a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like on a game day when you're going talking to other broadcasters from both teams because you were doing national, so you would have to obviously always have preparation for both sides of the puck. But sort of what that preparation is like, I think they'd really enjoy kind of getting a behind-the-scenes look like that.
Yeah, no, we'll do that. The one thing I would say, maybe my way of doing it was different because I never wanted to have to deal with the politics of one team versus the other.
Yes.
I didn't care who won. So when I talked to the broadcasters of different teams, I never talked about their team.
Yeah, because you never have a horse in the race.
Yeah, I didn't want to be polluted by their thought process. No disrespect meant by me. It's just that they're close to the team and they care about how the team does winning and losing because it affects their bottom line.
Yeah.
I didn't care. So all I cared about was knowing the most I could. And the way I find out the most, you watch. And you watch more. And you watch more. And you continually digest. And, you don't watch one game. You watch tons of games.
Yeah.
And you know the league inside out. And if you don't, then you're not going to be very good at it. And I say this with a heavy heart. There are guys on national shows that are faking it.
Yeah.
They're faking it.
No,
they're not doing the work.
And Pierre, we say it all the time, the admiration we have for scouts. But, so people know it, like they're a huge tool to learn for us as broadcasters or reporters. I love just sitting, picking their brains, like, because I'm not looking at these players as much as them. I've got a beat. I'm on a beat, right? So I'm always looking at the same team. I'm honed in, but I have to broaden my horizons if I'm going to do my job right. And I just found them to be such a great asset. And also, you know what? I learned this from seeing you do it. I learned it from seeing Brick do it. I learned it from seeing Jack Edwards do it and other people in the broadcasting business. You know, just off the record, when you're sitting there in the hallway after a skate, after game day skate or a practice, talking to the assistants, just picking their brain, you know, because they're studying the opponent. So they're going to have some great insight as to what they're preparing for that night when they play them. So, yeah, I think it would be fun to just maybe when the playoffs are over, you know, and we've got some free time to do that. It would be great to just kind of give the listeners and viewers a behind the scenes, like with the preparation you had as a broadcaster, Pierre.
Pretty intense, actually. But
I know.
The one group of people that most people don't talk to, and they should, are NHL trainers, equipment guys, and medical guys.
Yeah,
because they're two different groups, but they're really important guys in terms of the well-being of the players that play.
They're the lifeline.
Health-wise, you can find out so much from those, and they're not breaching confidentiality. They're not going to say, "Oh yeah, Jimmy Murphy's got a strained groin." They're not going to tell you that, and I don't even ask that. No. It's different things. It's what's bothering this guy, and I don't mean health-wise, just in life, and they're not breaching confidentialities at all. Those are the guys that are, and ladies, by the way, there are a lot of women working right now. Those are the people that I would say are probably the most underutilized when it comes to preparing for a game.
Yep.
Those are the people.
I'll give a shout out because two of the best in the biz, Matt Falconer with the Bruins, and
that's a home run hitter, superstar.
Brian Babs, he's a great guy. So
Boston just lost their best guy, Donnie Del Negro. Donnie, I was fortunate enough. I couldn't believe it, Jimmy. I was asked to do his Hall of Fame speech out in Arizona last year, and they said, "Are you sure you want to come?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what an honor! Of course I'll be there." It was truly one of the great privileges of my hockey career to be able to be there and speak on Donnie's behalf. It was phenomenal.
Well, we will get to that sometime. Pierre, I noticed in the comment section as we were talking to Brick, our Canadian listeners and viewers are freaking out. Apparently, Canada almost blew it against Austria in the World Championship. They were up 6-1, I think, or something. And they ended up blowing that lead, but they wound up winning. So we'll get to that. I see them like, what is going on? Oh my God, this comeback.
It's early in the tournament. Sometimes teams play possum. So it's anyways. Look at it's the World Championship.
They won an OT, Pierre.
World Championship. It's not. These are not the best Canadian players. They're not. Yeah. A lot of these guys will not be playing in the Olympics. So you really don't have to worry. But they are good. Canada's got a good team. Americans lost to Slovakia yesterday. I mean, so I've seen some crazy stuff. I broadcast a lot of the World Championships back in the day, and I've seen some crazy numbers come through that. I saw a Slovenian team. I didn't say Slovakia. A Slovenian team, a 17-year-old player, Ance Kopitar, almost beat an all-star team from Canada in Innsbruck, Austria. Mm-hmm. And he was so good. It was ridiculous how good Kopitar was. He ran the game. Yeah. He dominated the game. It was not even close. They almost beat Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. You've seen him grow up as a player too, Pierre. I know you have.
The guy, and I told you this before, one scout that I knew had him nailed. And this was for the 05 draft. You can go look. Crosby went number 1. Jack Johnson went number 3. Bobby Ryan went number 2. Kopitar went 12, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyway, David Conti, the scout now for the New York Islanders, former Colgate hockey player, played pro over in Finland, longtime scout for the New Jersey Devils, won Stanley Cups there. He's been all over the National Hockey League for a long time as an amateur scout. I'll never forget sitting with him in Innsbruck, Austria, just the two of us, watching practice. And he goes, Pierre, Crosby's the best player in this draft, and this guy's the second best player in this draft. He said, I'm telling you right now, he's the second best player in the draft. And he was right on. He was so right.
And he was such an integral part of those Devils teams, Pierre. I don't know if people know that, but just
Marshall Johnston, and David Conti. There should be shrines built to those two guys in New Jersey. The job they did for Lamoriello, finding players, those guys were home run hitter scouts. Trust me when I tell you they were really good.
Good stuff. All right. Well, if people want to hit a home run in the betting world and win some money in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, you want to go over to CBet, folks. And you make your first bet, you're going to get instantly refunded $300 Canadian, get some free play money there. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know what's going on, but the Vancouver Canucks are still the Rodney Dangerfields of the betting world. Heavy underdogs still, despite winning the other night on the road in Edmonton, being up 2-1 in a series. Last I checked over at CBet, they were plus 180. I checked it right before we came on right now. That's some good money to get an underdog like that I think has a great chance of going up 3-1 in this series. So go over to CBet right now and use the code SICK, SICK, just like the song in the intro. Go over there right now to CBet and have some fun and good luck. And, of course, our other sponsor, TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics from around the corner to around the world. Flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport. Moving pieces and delivering peace of mind for no obligation customs or freight quote. Contact Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. All right, let's get to the questions here on a Tuesday afternoon as we prepare for more playoff hockey. What do we got? Mike, we all want him to get right and healthy, but is it now back-to-back playoffs where Val Nichushkin has caused a distraction? Does this not affect the room, especially come playoff time? Well, if you look at Jack Johnson's comments, I don't know if you saw it, Pierre, what Jack Johnson said.
Yeah, I did.
Not too happy. And look, Pierre, before you end, I'll just say quickly, yeah, I think it affects the room. But I thought Jared Bednar handled that press conference afterwards, discussing the situation with Nichushkin perfectly. And he said, look, there are bigger and more important things in life than hockey. And this is one of them is making sure this individual gets healthy and finds his way once and for all. And on that being said, he also said, but yeah, it is a distraction, but we're not going to blame the loss on him. We're not going to blame the loss on the other injuries we've suffered or anything else. We went out and we were not good. So I just wanted to give a lot of credit to Bednar for the way he handled that, Pierre.
I think the whole organization's handled it really well. Painful to even talk about. I feel terrible for the family. Those players know this is tough. They could not be going to work every day not knowing that something was up. And he was a really important part of their team. And he's not anymore. And no. I'll be really surprised if he's back there. And look, I'm not trying to speculate. I'm just telling you, like, this is twice now.
Yeah, and, no, there's a serious issue going on there.
Serious thing. This is not about hockey right now. This is about life.
And it's about this individual finding his way. And I just want to say out there too, and I don't like giving credence to these people, but there's a lot of people out there right now cracking jokes about it or throwing insults out there. And it's just like, look, grow up. I mean, this is life. This guy's got an issue. It's a problem. It's a disease, whatever, whether it's alcoholism or drugs, I don't know, but it's something. And he's got something going on. And there's been other athletes who have dealt with this. And, I saw some comments during this series, Pierre, and it's just horrible where people were bringing up what Jim Montgomery went through and blaming the Bruins. And it's just, can we just have, like we've said before, some decorum out there and just show some respect? And, I know I speak for Pierre. We wish Val Nichushkin and anyone else going through these issues right now, we wish you the best and we hope you find your way. All right, next question. Bilal Abdelmalik. Hey, boys, I went to the Generals game yesterday. Up 6-2, but they lost in overtime to London. So upset, but Seneke is hurt. Do you know anything about him, Pierre?
I don't know about the injury. I know a lot about him as a player. I was watching that a little bit last night, not laughing at Oshawa and losing that game. London's for real. London's really good. They got a legitimate chance to win the Memorial Cup. They're very good. Easton Cowan is phenomenal. Their power play is crazy good, Jimmy. Bonk is outstanding on their power play. Philadelphia Flyer draft pick, Radek Bonk's son. Oliver. They got a lot of stuff. So as much as people I'm sure in Oshawa are hurting today, that London team is really good. But I don't know anything about Seneke's injury. Nothing.
Yeah, I know Bruins fans are pretty excited about Jackson Edward, Pierre. He's having a hell of a playoff.
They should be.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of good stuff. We talked about it. Oshawa's this big, physical, robust team, and London's got a lot of size, but they got a lot of skill too. They got a lot of real skillful guys.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, next question. Morantz, gentlemen, would you know how are younger players prepared for the transition to body checking in hockey? That's a great question. Pierre, I'll let you take it.
Well, I don't call it hitting when I teach hockey schools in the summer, and I put a lot of children through these different camps, both men and women, or boys and girls, depending on the age, obviously. We don't call it hitting, we call it angling. We try to teach players that you don't have to overwhelm somebody physically to be an important person on the ice defensively. You have to angle them. And we're the only sport that you can't run out of bounds. You run out of bounds, you run into the board. So if you angle properly, you don't have to really smash people. You just have to take them out. I personally, and you're going to laugh at this, Jimmy, I think hitting is a learned art. Some people accept to learn it more readily than others. But, you know, I can tell you from a lot of the players that I've coached over time, hitting is a learned art. And it's a really effective defensive weapon, a very effective defensive weapon. And I don't think it should ever be taken out of hockey. I think when you start playing, you should be allowed to, and I don't call it hitting, you should be calling it angling because it's a defensive concept.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like, okay, we put full shields on all the players. That's great. Concussions have gone up. Kids dive face first in front of shots to block them, so they don't know how to block shots. They lead with their head when they're hitting, so they're taught bad habits right away. They're fearless when they go in to play a puck on the boards because they don't think they're going to lose their teeth or they're not going to break their nose or their orbital bone. You put all these stopgap mechanisms in to try to make the game safer. There are always different things that make it less safe because you put it in. I think not teaching children how to hit or to be hit is a problem once they have to go into checking games.
Yeah, I totally agree. Great points. All right, next question. Jason Logan. Hey, gents, when a team is down 3-1, how's the vibe in a room? Murph, if you can talk about it and Pierre as a coach, what do you say to pick the team up and make sure the teams and players aren't down? I wouldn't, like, I can just tell you what I've seen as a reporter. It varies. You know, I can sense when a room is tense and I can sense when it's free. And usually when they're kind of laid back and having this, hey, we got nothing to lose, nobody's expecting us to win, that's when they usually can stage a comeback. Pierre, I'll let you take that, though.
Well, with the red line out, 3-1's not that big a deficit to overcome anymore. It used to be a little bit more when the red line was in. You couldn't make the stretch pass. But no, usually you want to be really positive with your team. Sometimes you got to get their attention. So let's say your team gave up 3 really bad goals, or let's say your team took 3 really bad penalties and they got 3 power play goals on the other side. You may want to get demonstrative. Other times you've played a great game and their goalie's played better than your guy. So you want to stress about getting to the net. So every game is different. It's not one size fits all. Every message is different. You just got to evaluate where your team is. But to me, the most important thing that I've learned over time, the more positive you can be, the better it will be for your players.
And Pierre, I'll tell you this, as I've gone on as a reporter and grown older and learned more about the games, whether it's from you or players or what have you, the whole one game, one period, one shift at a time, it's not a cliche. Like, you really need to apply that when you're facing elimination, because if you start to let the big picture trickle into your head when you're on the ice, it's not going to go well. Like, you literally just got to go out there. Like, I just remember Mark Recchi, saying to me, we just need to win one game right now. When they went up to Montreal and they were down 2-0, and then we'll go from there and we'll have to win another, and then we'll have to win another. But we're not going there right now. We're on this game right now. And it's frustrating, yes, as reporters, right? And it's frustrating as fans to hear them say that because whatever, man, you totally think. But no, they really, players, the good ones and coaches will really train themselves to think that way, Pierre. And you know that from being in the room.
Oh, I totally agree with everything you just said.
All right. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Hey, guys, are we going to see a full-time women head coach in the NHL soon? Thoughts? Just a suggestion for Sammy. You need a PWHL sick podcast. I don't know. I don't know where that's going right now, but all I know is women's hockey has never been better than it has before in terms of the quality of the game and in terms of the way fans and the media are covering it and accepting it. So it's going in the right direction, and who knows? We'll see what happens.
Jessica Campbell's an assistant coach right now in Coachella Valley. She works for Danny Bilesma, and Stu Bickle, I think, is on that staff as well. But Jessica's on that staff. So there's already women coaching in professional hockey, and I'm sure there are other ones too. I know there are women trainers in the league. I know there are women scouts. I know there are women assistant general managers. It's not far-fetched to see. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 5 years or not. I don't know. But I do think eventually, how could you say no? It'll never happen. I don't think you can say that. I don't think you can.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next question. Naz 26, is Marchand playing tonight? No, he's not.
No.
Nope, he's not. All right, next question. Question, would you offer, this is from Randy Workman, by the way. Question, would you offer Edmondson a contract if you were the Leafs? I think it depends on term. I wouldn't offer him more than 1 year. Pierre?
I would wait and see what the market bears.
That's the even better answer. That's an even better answer. All right, next question. A to Z me. Seems like Dallas is warming up. Didn't look too good versus Vegas, in my opinion, but now they seem to be rolling. What do you guys feel has been the biggest difference? Goaltending? I think 100% goaltend, but I think also just the way they've bought into DeBoer's 1-3-1, Pierre, as we were saying earlier in the show.
Yeah, no, and Tanev's getting more comfortable. Essa Lindell is getting more comfortable. That's kind of their go-to matchup tandem now. That's freeing up Miro Heiskanen to do a little bit more offensively. Obviously, the offense they're getting from Wyatt Johnston is huge. Jason Robertson has been phenomenal. There's a lot to like on that team. Getting Mason Marchment back has been gigantic for them. So they are warming up at the right time. And Pete's, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Pete's a heck of a coach. He really is. Pete's a really, really good coach.
It's going to be a tough road for Colorado to get back in that one. All right, next question. State of survival. I've been thinking about this for a while regarding rare calls. I can't remember the last time anyone was called for an illegal curve. Why is this? Also, what are other very rare calls?
There's no curve limitation anymore. They stopped measuring curves. So that's why.
Yeah, there we go. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski. Sometimes when I watch Colorado, even during the season, it seems like when they struggle, they get pushed to the outside when they're in the ozone. Do you notice that as well, or am I seeing things? No, that's a great point, Alex.
No, I think it's fair. I think that's a really fair point. Colorado, look, Dallas is doing a real good job trying to eliminate the speed quotient from Colorado's game. And, we talk about the 1-3-1. They're doing it, and they're creating matchup situations. Even when they were on the road, they were able to do it, which was shocking to me. So the big thing for Colorado, if they don't have their speed, it's a big problem for them to get to the front of the net.
All right, we're going to close it up, but I do want to say Bilal Abdelmalik is asking us, Pierre, if we can put this up, guys, before we sign off. Would we be down to come to Wendell Clark's in Oshawa? Dinner bill is on me. I really want to meet you guys.
I would, first of all, anything named Wendell Clark is open for me. I'll listen. Coach games against them. Been on some pretty cool golf things with him. So no, Wendell's a big hero of mine. I'm a big fan. I didn't like it when he was beating up some of our players, but that's okay. He did that to a lot of people. He's an icon, obviously, a Maple Leaf. I know he played for a lot of teams, but a Maple Leaf icon for sure. I'd love going to Oshawa. I got ties to the neighborhood there, so to speak. My late grandfather was part of General Motors and helped build one of the plants there in Oshawa. So yeah, no, I'd go to Oshawa anytime.
Well, I think that's one of the things too, Pierre. And we've discussed this a couple times. But we'll discuss it more in the off season when we have time and plan it. But we need to bring the eye test on the road more. I think we need to pick some dates.
Sure, we're going to. I mean, that's
I would love that. Because I love getting out and meeting the people that, when we went to Hurley's in Montreal and people that are always here in the comment section. They're coming.
How about when we were in Springfield?
And we were in Springfield too.
There were 1,200 people in that room.
Yeah, that was insane. That was great. So I love meeting the people that are asking the questions every day, putting faces to the names here. So I really enjoy that. So we'll make that happen. So, definitely remind us about the Oshawa trip, and we'll pick out some other cities as well. We're working on potentially being in Las Vegas, broadcasting live from the draft. We're trying to make that happen right now. We will keep you posted. So great stuff there. Hey, listen, great to have Andy Brickley on the show. Brick, if you're watching or listening still, thank you very much. Really enjoyed that conversation with Brick. Thank you to everyone in the comments section there. Oh, look at that. David Robinson, bring the eye test to Portugal for a totally exotic distance couple of episodes. We'll have to do that. I wouldn't mind that at all.
We tell David that we could definitely do that as well. We'd maybe do it with like a little European hockey.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Of course, I know Dave from where I'm actually.
I will tell you this, Jimmy. I will tell you this. There's a thing called the Friendship Four that happens in Belfast every year.
Yes. Yep.
And this year, Harvard and BU are going, Merrimack's going, and Notre Dame's going. And right now, there's a panel discussion that's being set up, and I'm probably going to be the moderator of that. Well, I will be the moderator of that show. But anyways, my daughter works over in Ireland, and so it's kind of a neat nexus.
We're doing this, Pierre.
That's my point in this. So you tell David, we're holding you to it. We're going to do that.
Yeah. So Sarah Stanton here. Sarah Stanton is part of that, and she runs a travel agency over here in Boston out of Quincy, and she's from Ireland, and she helps that whole thing organize it. So we're going to make that happen. We are definitely going to be at the Friendship Force. So keep that in mind, everybody.
That's just one example. That's one example of how maybe we can get to David. But David, for him to take the time to write that in, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I know David through my good friend Jeff, who I'll be watching the Bruins Panthers game with tonight. So, Dave, enjoy the game if you can stay up and watch it. All right, and of course, our production crew. Thank you to everyone up in Montreal. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.